in a previous relationship with a provider man in which I paid $0 in living expenses or personal expenses. And I do not think that the conversation around 50-50 and women dating for money is productive or healthy for a lot of young women. I lived with my partner when I was in this relationship, and I moved into his apartment that he had already been living in. I was like 25 at the time, so I didn't even think about getting added to the lease. And I, from the jump, didn't pay a dime in shared expenses whatsoever. I would occasionally like pick up groceries, and I definitely took care of his dog. I took care of the majority of the cooking and cleaning, things like that. So there was some ways when I was like pulling my weight, but financially, no. And then eventually towards the end of the relationship, he had already been paying my phone bill. He had been paying my car insurance, like any shopping money I needed, anytime we went out to eat, like all him. I eventually had quit my job with his permission because I was just dealing with some mental health stuff, and I was a teacher and it was just not working for me. So he had agreed that it was totally okay financially if I quit my job just for a time and figured out it like a new career path or something else to do. And so about a month or two after I quit my job, I was doing like freelance work, gig work, things like that, starting to become a journalist. And I still wasn't making nearly enough money to provide for myself whatsoever. And he unexpectedly broke up with me.
All right, so let's start here before we get to the rest of the video, and let's break it down. So you wasn't married. Let's start there. You weren't married, meaning that he had no tie to you. Everything that this woman is saying is basically a level of entitlement or something that you're expecting, but you should never expect. This is a nice to have. This is a gimme. I mean, I think that he was a fool in the first place for allowing for you to do some of the things that you were doing without you guys as being married. So that's number one. Y'all keep getting into these girlfriend boyfriend relationships, and you are not married to these people. And so for you to expect for them to do anything outside of what they are doing is nice to haves, I think that that is a bad idea for y'all to then be dependent on these people for your existence. And this is one of the things that is being communicated to women. You are still supposed to be a good adult. You are still supposed to be able to take care of yourself. That doesn't mean you are an independent woman or you're leading with your career or your resources. It means that you are an adult and that you're actually doing what adults are supposed to do: take care of themselves. And if you are not that, then that means that you are a problem. You are a nuisance. You become a noose on the person, because it's not just about whether or not they take care of you. It's about the value add. And if you don't even have any transferable skills to add value into what it is that I'm building, then why should I keep you along the minute that we start to get into an argument? And that's outside of looks and womb and children and all of that stuff. But my point is that you see these people and she talking about, I wanted to be a journalist. What? That is something that you're supposed to do in your spare time. That is not something that you're supposed to be trying to do just because you have the leverage to be able to get into it. It is your responsibility to maintain the ability to provide for yourself until somebody gives you their last name. That's just the rules of the game. That is just standard, right? Don't mean you got to lead with your accomplishments. Don't mean that you got to be so independent that you start to try to emasculate somebody by saying that I can do better by my goddamn self. No, you can still maintain a level of femininity. You can still have a decent career. You can still be able to take care of yourself. And anything that he does for you, it is a nice to have. That is not a requirement. And because he was not married to you at any point, he should be able to, and obviously he did, go ahead and execute on the idea, because I'm sure that there's more to the story. And I don't know if she's going to get into it, but people don't just break up with people just because, especially men. It's a long time coming. It's something that was communicated. It's something you're not doing. Maybe you become too much of a nuisance. Maybe you argumentative or whatever. And so I know that there's a portion, a large portion, that maybe she can't spend the time and articulating or whatever. There's a large part of the conversation that's not being talked about. And so maybe we'll get into that a little later into this video. But the reality is that there's something else that happened that led up to it. A month, 2 months after it, he just up and was like, oh no, I just want to be gone. Stop it. Men don't even operate like that. Men don't move like that. And you knew who this guy was before you ever moved in with him. So now that you're sitting here talking about and warning women saying, oh no, y'all shouldn't get with provider men. No, that's not the message. Every man is a provider man. That's a great man. Even if he's not there yet, he'll eventually get there. The problem is the expectation, and for y'all to think that y'all deserve something more than what you should, especially if you're not even a wife. But let's get into the full story.
Out of the blue, completely blindsided me. And in that moment, when he said, I want to break up, I cannot describe to you the brokenness and the emptiness and like the aloneness that I felt. Because number one, I'm losing the person that I love, obviously, and I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with my partner. Number two, I don't have a job. I don't have anything to fall back on stability-wise. And number three, he's paying for all my shit. So it's like, what am I supposed to do now? Because we live together. I obviously have to move out and try to do it as quickly as I can because he clearly doesn't want me here anymore. So it's like, I was not set up for any kind of safety net or backup plan whatsoever. And that is where I think the conversation is missing a huge key piece that is so crucial, especially for vulnerable and impressionable young women in this economy. Believe me, I am as radical, angry, leftist feminist as they come. I totally agree that we live in an extremely...
That's the problem right there. You're a radical leftist feminist. Why is she a radical leftist feminist, or did she become that way as a result?
Inequitable patriarchal society where women are so oppressed in so many ways, and the wage gap is real. I agree that emotional and domestic labor is so inequitable, especially when it comes to women living with men. So I get it, trust me. And I fully think that it is perfectly okay for women and men to have a mutually agreed upon like providership relationship, whether it's an SD type or whether it's like a legit romantic partnership, whatever floats your boat, I totally am down with. However, you need to have a backup plan in place. Take it from me. This is especially true if you are like me and you're in your 30s or older and you are kind of like educating young women about the idea of like a providership or being in a relationship with like an older man or a man who makes a lot more money, who just has more resources. Like all of the men that I've dated have been older. All of the men that I've dated have had significantly more income than I did. However, now I know from that relationship on, I have never put myself in a position where I was relying on those men financially. And if I ever would again, I would have so many backup plans in place. I would have separate savings accounts that they do not have access to. I would have investment accounts that they pour into that they do not have access to. Like nothing that may.
How can you be a radical leftist feminist, but then you taking advantage of somebody that you then say, you know what, they this, they that, so on and so forth, and they should be able to pour into my stuff, but they shouldn't have access to it. This is the problem that I have, and this is one of the reasons why you probably broke up with her. It's like, how can you be a radical leftist feminist and then allow yourself to take advantage of a man? And is it because you're broken? Is it because you're angry? Or is it because you actually have some logic and reasoning as to why it is that you should go ahead and leave behind this leftist feminist mindset? This is so dumb.
Man can fuck up for you or fuck you over with should exist in that relationship. Like, especially if you don't have a job or any other source of your own personal income, you've gotta not give that man a single inch when it comes.
Nah, I'm not in agreement with that. So I do think that women should be helpful. I don't think that they should be dependent, but I do think that they should be mindful of what it is that they're doing and how they're taking advantage of men. And that often at times translates into their actions. Make sure you guys tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Teach Hanley, 40% off your first order plus 20% off for life. Let me know what y'all think about women talking about getting with provider men.